Now that you have set a goal for the new year, how do you prevent yourself from becoming a statistic? One of all of the people who decide to give up on their goal just the first 60 days into the year. Learn how to beat the statistics in this episode. Hello, Happy New Year, my friend. So, last episode, we really talked about how to really kill it with your goals, really do an amazing job moving through your goals. But in this episode, I want to share with you some of the problems that come up when you set a goal, because there will be obstacles. As soon as you set your mind to doing anything, obstacles automatically come up, and that's okay. What I want to share with you here are the big problems that I see when I'm working with lawyers and how you can overcome them and you can have that awareness of them. So, first off, let me talk to you about constraint. Constraint, constraint, constraint. If you take nothing else from this episode, this is what you need to hear. A lot of us go into New Year's with this whole new year, new you mentality, which is beautiful. I love that. And that energy can often be dispersed in 10 different directions. So, if you want to manage your time, get a new workout routine going, you want to start cleaning your house on a regular basis, you want to make sure that you do, something else, you want to take your dog on daily walks, you want to wake up early in the morning. There's a ton of things that you want to change and you decide you want to do it all at once. That can be a problem because when we are creating a new habit, you're going to get this dissonance. So we really need to focus our energy on one, possibly two things at a time. One thing that I see work really well together is if you're learning how to manage your time, then you can work in one other thing, maybe your workout routine, right? Or some other routine. But if you are telling yourself, I need to do a million things in order to be the version of myself that I need to be, you don't. And it's going to prevent you from taking consistent action because you're going to feel so spread out, so spread thin that you will just lose your motivation. It won't feel good. You're going to be skipping a lot more days than you would otherwise doing the things that you want to create a habit, and it's going to feel demoralizing. So, constraint is our friend here. I also want to say, in terms of constraint, when you have set a goal, let's say you've set a single goal of a revenue goal at the end of the year, let's say that's, $100,000 or whatever it is, more than what you made the previous year. I want you to also use constraint. I do this with my clients all the time using a calendar, and this is something that you can do too. When you set a goal, you want to work backwards. You want to have a hypothesis around what is going to help you create what you want to create, and do it in a way that isn't overworking, isn't interfering with the way that you want to live your life. So if you have a regular workout routine already, you don't want to then put pressure on yourself to skip a workout routine so you can do the work towards your goal, right? Like you want to be able to constrain in a way that fits with the lifestyle that you want to create. So when you're thinking about your goal, let's say your revenue goal is 500,000 this year, let's just say, and you are starting the work, it's January, February, you're moving through your year, and what your brain is going to do is distract you with shiny things. It's going to say, oh, you know what? You should start this new thing. You should, instead of the business that you planned out in 2025 or whatever year it is when you're listening to this, you should really do this whole other thing with your life. And you should decide to do something like totally counter active to the goal that you set. And let me give you an example of how this shows up. You'll start to take action, you'll feel really good, and then you're going to hear this voice that says, you know what? Maybe I should start a whole new practice area. Maybe I should stop doing this thing that's working in my business and do something totally different to grow it. And if you don't spot it, you are going to be making a left turn when you wanted to make a right turn. And I've seen this show up time and again where, I had a client who had a workout routine that she had already incorporated into her life, and she had a big goal for her business. We got to a call one day, and this is why mind maintenance is so important, is we don't even see this left turn, and we take it, and then we come to a mind maintenance call, like a coaching call, and they're like, oh, I didn't even see that's what I was doing. So my client decided, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this 90-day glow up. And what's going to be required is that I need to do, you know, 5 hours of X workout, and then I need to change my entire eating routine. And then my whole eating routine is going to be centered around this particular practice. And then I'm going to need to do food planning, and I'm going to need to, carve out like a whole weekend to do this other thing. And I got really curious about this because it was very clear that this plan that her brain came up with was going to take her away from the consistency that we need to have to hit any goal, the consistency that we can have just showing up on a regular basis and reaping the results of that, and taking her entirely away from her business, right? Entirely. So it was just really interesting. And so I asked her about it, and it was very clear that this 90-day glow up was coming from this anxious place inside of her body that was telling her, you need to do more, you need to be more. If you do this big thing, then you're going to get there faster. And that brings me into my next area that you need to be aware of, is thinking that it's going to be better when you hit your goal. Your life's going to be better when, you're going to feel better when, everything in your life is going to come together when you hit your goal, your financial goal, your workout goal, whatever it is. And when you believe that, you're going to find yourself hustling harder, working faster, feeling more panicked in your body, feeling more anxiety. That's where my client was coming from. So it's important to notice if you are rushing things, if you're like, okay, today is January 1st, and we are going to do everything today. That it is not going to be better when you hit your goal. It's not going to be better when you hit $500,000. It's not. I understand that the brain thinks that everything's going to be better when you hit your goal. Simply not factual. How do you know this? Because once you become the person who has that goal, you want something else, right? That's the nature of our human nature, right? So instead of rushing yourself towards your goal, allow yourself to be calm towards your goal. This is a practice, and it also intertwines with constraint, because when I work with my clients, we're working on using a tool that helps you constrain, which is a calendar, and then managing your mind with constraint. Because our brain doesn't naturally want to constrain. Our brain wants to go to 20 different things at once and do all 20 things right now. Because if we do all 20 things right now, then we're going to feel better. We're going to have everything done, and then we're going to feel calm. No, you got to feel calm now to get the things done, to accomplish what you want to do. And if you don't feel calm now, when you hit your goal, you're not going to feel calm, because your brain's going to be going off to the next thing, and you're going to continue the cycle. So you've got to constrain, and you've got to catch your brain when it wants to hustle harder, work longer hours, skip workouts. That was something that I've had clients do, is they just totally skip a workout because they think if they do this one extra thing, they're going to be closer to their goal. If they work up this one file, they're going to get closer to their goal at the end of the month, at the end of the year. I'm here to tell you that is not what happens. And what ends up happening if you don't calm down and slow yourself down is you start making yourself late, right? You start making your goal further and further away from you. Here's what I mean. So I had a client who, when she would have to travel from county to county in order to do her cases for the day. And one of the things that was coming up for her was that she was feeling really rushed. She felt really worried that she wasn't going to be able to hit all of her appointments. Well, we did the math. We used the calendar to constrain and understand exactly what was going on during the day. And her brain could see it, could see that the math worked out, but she still felt really anxious. And one of the things that was happening was that she wanted to hustle her body, her brain wanted to hustle harder, move faster through the day in order to get all of the things done because her brain said, I'll feel better when I know it's all done. But in order to calm ourselves down, we need to be calm now and in the moment, every moment throughout the day, as we're doing these kinds of things like traveling, or this is what will happen. You will get a speeding ticket. You will get into a car accident. You will find that you forgot something at home and you need to run back to the house. And meanwhile, you've just lost 30 minutes of your time moving from appointment to appointment. That is what happens when you're not present and you're not paying attention. And if our brains are in a hustle hurry, then we are going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes in briefs. We're going to miss mistakes when we're reviewing our employees' work. We are not going to make it easier on ourselves to achieve the goal. So it's going to make the goal further away, whatever it is, whether it's today's goal of hitting all of your appointments or it's a goal at the end of the quarter to hit your billable hours. So calm it down. Here's another thing that happens. Speaking of billables, your brain will say, oh, we don't have time for that. We've got to keep going. We got to keep working. We got to keep getting stuff done. I'll do the hours at the end of the day. I'll do the hours at the end of the week. I'll do the hours at the end of the month. What you've got to realize is that that is a natural reaction, but you've got to learn the power of constraint and calm so you're not hurrying towards the goal. In fact, what happens when you calm it all down and you constrain yourself to task A, your file, your Jackson file, let's say. And then you say, all right, I worked 30 minutes. Let me go into my calendar. Let me mark the 30 minutes. Done. Okay. Let me go into this appointment, the Thompson appointment. Okay. I've got that appointment done. I need to log it. I need to write notes. Let's do that. Right. When you slow it down, by the end of the day, you will have captured your hours. Then you won't be wasting time worrying about it, thinking about it over dinner, let's say, like, oh my gosh, I have so many billables. I got to get into the system. You are actually doing it. And over the period of a week, and over a period of a month, and over the period of a quarter, you will begin to make the effort necessary to hit your goal at the end of the year. That's how it works. But when you're busying yourself, when you're in that constant hustle hurry, you are not going to be able to capture all the hours because you'll say, oh my gosh, I can't go back and like look at all the emails and listen to all the voicemails. And you're going to miss something, even if you do that. So it's really important to calm it all down. If you have financial goals, you need to calm it all down because that is what is going to get you where you need to go. Another thing that I want to share with you is just because you don't bill or don't do a thing that is within your goal plan, right? Like it could be, you right now you want to have a workout where you're working out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you skip Friday. And then Monday, you're like, oh my gosh, well, I already missed last week. So whatever, I'll just do it Wednesday. And then you start into this pattern that is the old pattern that you had, your old habit, which is just not going to the gym. So it's really important. This is linked with slowing it down to notice when your brain wants to say, oh, you don't need to go to that workout. You don't need to bill right now. You can just go on to the next thing, or you can just work on one more file. That is actually more productive to get you towards your goal. No, no, no. So I see this happen all the time with the lawyers I work with is that's just a natural thing our brain wants to do. And what's coming to mind right now is a client that I have who wasn't slowing everything down and wasn't thinking about how to lay out his time so that he could make the hours that he wanted to make because he was in that hustle hurry. and he wanted to make money. But what was happening is that he was preventing himself from making money because he wasn't doing the math on how many hours he needed to bill each day. So once we slowed it down, we could do the math. And then we could do this work, which is paying attention to when the brain says, don't bill, do another file, or you shouldn't bill for that because you took too long. That's one of my favorite things that lawyers tell me. But they're not paying, your client is not paying you for like, um, they're paying you for the result. And sometimes the result requires that you do research. Sometimes the result requires that you have an additional meeting. Sometimes the work requires more work than your brain says is needed. So you got to slow it down because when your brain says that, you've got to question it, you've got to pause it. Or what's going to happen is you're going to spend a lot of time doing work that you're not billing, so you're not getting paid for it, and it's not going towards your revenue goal at the end of the year, let's say. Or you're doing a lot of work that's outside the scope of your original agreement, and you're not having conversations with your client about another payment that's needed in order to complete the scope of work. Or you're beating yourself up because you didn't have a conversation with them earlier. That's okay. Have a conversation with them. Tell them, hey, this was unexpected. I didn't realize that this was going to be part of what needed to get done. And then have them make a payment, right? They want the result. That's what they're paying for. And if that's what's required, they will do it. Okay. You cannot take on the weight of the world and do free work if you want to be a successful lawyer, if you want to be successful in any endeavor that you do, right? So paying attention to when your brain says, oh, I should do this one more thing, or I shouldn't build this thing right now, is something that is going to really help you get past those times when you're in that hustle hurry. And then when you miss it, let's say, don't beat yourself up for missing it, right? If you miss billing, if you skip billing, if you skip a workout, whatever it is that you're trying to create as a habit, I want you to just say, okay, that's all right. We're just going to do it again tomorrow. As we start over, we get do-overs. I tell this to my timepiece clients all the time, right? Everybody and all of my clients who come to me in private coaching too, it's just because you don't do your calendar one week doesn't mean you don't do it the next week. Right? Doesn't mean that you failed as a lawyer, you failed with time management. All it means is that you just get back up and you do it again, right? And you make it a habit. That's how you make habits, is by doing it again and again. If you think about even walking, like when you were a toddler, you didn't just have the habit. You had to get up and fall down and get up and fall down and get up and fall down and get up. And then eventually you would have more time standing up than you did on the ground. And then it just became a habit in your muscles. You began to walk and then it stuck. But you've got to be able to get through that awkward period where you're going to be falling down. That brings me to the next thing you need to do in order to maintain your habit in 2025 to hit your goal, which is to celebrate every single win. Every time you get up when you didn't do something before, you got to celebrate it. You got to say, good for you. If you didn't work out on Monday and you worked out on Wednesday, say, good job. You did a good job, Dina. You did a good job, Karen. You did a good job, Jennifer. You got to tell yourself, good job. Nobody else is going to do it. You got to do it yourself. And I do this with myself when I feel down. Maybe I feel down about a goal, and I see my clients do this too, right? We get into this compare and despair where we're comparing ourselves to other people and where they are and where we think we should be in relation to them. And that does not feel good. So then I need to go in and I need to be able to direct my client's brain to go in and say, where are you not celebrating? We need to be celebrating some things. What are those celebrations? And bring the brain there. So if you notice that you are down on yourself because you didn't bill what you wanted to bill, or you're not doing the habit that you want to have so that you can hit your goal, then you've got to just take a moment and say, okay, I feel really down right now, but that just means I'm not celebrating something. So let's take a look at what is going right now and start listing them. Okay, I filled out my calendar for the week. Did I do my calendar work on Tuesday? And no, I didn't. Okay, that's all right. How about Wednesday? Yes, I did. I did what was on my calendar. And then you do that reassessment for yourself. Because if you're not celebrating, your brain is going to say, well, I guess you're a failure. You're not good at this too. Better just move on. Don't do that to yourself with your goal this year. Celebrate your wins. And then the final thing that I'll say here about going after goals is give yourself the support you need. And that support might mean more space in your day, asking for help around the house. It could be saying, I had one client who we were talking about how she wanted to build a business on the side of her legal practice. And at night is really the only time she could do that. And she said, well, I gotta take care of my baby at night. And I gotta, wash my baby. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And I said, okay, well, what's your husband doing? And she said, well, I mean, I guess, he's doing XYZ. And I said, well, do you think he'd be willing to help you? And she said, I do. And I said, do you want to ask him for some help? Because sometimes we don't even think that we can have help available to us. And so she asked her husband for some help on those nights so she could work on her business. And sure enough, he was like, of course I'll watch the baby. Of course I will help. And that freed up so much time and it really supported her in achieving her goals. So that's one way to get that support for yourself. Another way is to get a coach, right? Somebody who can help you manage your brain every week and watch out for those times when it wants to sabotage itself and do a 90-day glow up or do something where it's totally unrelated to your goal and your brain is taking you away from it. That's one way that you can do that. I do that with my clients. Another way you can do it is getting an accountability partner. I'm of mixed feelings about this, about accountability partners. Part of me is I don't have a lot of faith in accountability partners, and here's why. Because I'm very driven. And so every time I have been, hey, yeah, somebody asked me, hey, can you be my accountability partner? The other person always fell off. I am always the person who follows through. I am always the person who says, yes, let's go. And then I've got energy and then I have direction and I have focus and I can prioritize and I know exactly what to do. And then the other person just kind of loses interest. They're like, oh, yeah, probably because all of the things that I just mentioned in this episode, they weren't managing their mind around. So that's something to keep in mind when you get an accountability partner, if that's the direction you go. Whether it's for runs, your goal, whatever it is, because I know a lot of people have running buddies and gym buddies and all that stuff. Now, there are some people who are motivated. There are some people who do have that drive. And if you know somebody like that, fabulous. And then a coach can do that too. I have a client who has a running coach in addition to me as her coach for her work. And she uses that system in her as her running coach to help her navigate the goals that she has for her running, whether it's a marathon or whatever it is she wants to do. So she has somebody who has drive. She has people around her who have drive because they run in a group. They've all hired this coach. And so it's easy for them to say, yes, we've got people around us that are all energized to go after something that is of common interest to them. That's part of the reason I love Timepiece is because when I have lawyers come into that group program, they all have the same goal. They all want to manage their mind around time. They all want to have more time. They all want to be able to do more of what they enjoy in their life and do less of the hustle, harder work, right? So those are the tips that I would offer to you. Constraint, knowing that you don't have to hustle harder. In fact, that's a signal that you need to slow down and reassess what's going on because you're moving away from your goal rather than closer to your goal. Then also, you don't want to like failing one day doesn't mean you don't get up and do it again. You've got to keep getting up, keep getting up. That's what consistency and persistence are all about. And that's how you create habits to hit your goal, billing, running, whatever it is. Those are the two examples that I use the most frequently because they're just the easiest to grab onto. They feel the most tangible. Then also giving yourself the support you need and being able to be surrounded by and supported by people who are going to help you achieve your goals. If you want help achieving your goals this year or any time of year, book a strategy session with me. Go to dinacataldo.com/strategy session, and I will walk you through the process of how we can work together so that you can achieve your goals, how you will have the mind management and the support that you need to make your dreams reality. All right, my friend, have a beautiful rest of your week and go out there and do some big things because you are 100% capable. All right, bye.